What's good, everybody? Welcome into Inside
Shit,
the
shit,
Green Room
shit.
with Danny Green. I'm Harrison Sanford. We are recording this on Monday night. And Danny, as much as I'm looking forward to the
Shit.
conference finals, I must tell you, I'm getting scared, bro. I'm
Of
getting
what?
real scared, bro.
Of
Because
what?
Monday night, there's no basketball on my TV outside of the
Oh
W, which we're
yeah.
going to talk about in a moment.
Okay.
Once the conference finals are over, bruh, and then you get to the finals, and it's like 3 games between each day.
Yeah,
And
3 days in between games. Yeah.
I love the summer. I really do love the summer, but bro,
You got
the
the W.
the absence of NBA basketball on a nightly basis, and
Yeah.
even still, Danny, like I'm not as much as I like watching the WNBA. It's nice outside. I'm not trying to be in the
Yeah.
crib watching anything. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
a huge Yankee fan. I'm not
And
staying in
that's
the crib
that's that's a tough
2
part
p.m.
about
watching
the
Yankees.
W schedule. That's a tough part is that they during the summer where people want to be outside more. But hopefully people will be outside and go into the games, into the arenas and support and actually watch the games in arenas. But said summertime is a tough schedule to watch certain sports.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I went to the New York Liberty game, their season opener this past weekend, Saturday. They took on Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. And Danny, I'm gonna keep it real with you. And if there's a Brooklyn Net fan that's listening to this podcast, if you guys
about
even exist,
They're about to
I'm gonna
have
tell
your
y'all
ass.
right now, the New York Liberty game is 20, 30, 40, 50 times better than going to a Brooklyn
Mhm.
Nets game. Their
Yeah.
energy in the arena is absolutely contagious. I was remarking to the person who I went with, I was like, yo, this actually feels more like a college game more than a professional game because there's so much pride that the Liberty fans had going to the game. Danny, when they did like the little towel wave, the
Hmm.
whole fan base, the whole crowd was doing it. And you know, sometimes that kind of tapers off for energy. The whole
Hmm.
commercial break, they're doing the whole waving the flag thing. They were basically up double digits the entire game. It didn't matter. Their halftime show, the mascot they have, Ellie, did a full ass performance, 4 wardrobe
Hmm.
changes, busting out the moves. And I'm like, yo, they
Four wardrobe
really
change.
four dead ass 4 wardrobe changes. And I said to myself, yo, the W is really making an effort here, or at least what I saw from the Liberty, of not just making it a game you could watch on TV, but I think they understand, to your point, Danny, because it's a summer product and it's going to be hard to get people to watch on TV, you have to make the in-arena experience
Yeah.
one of a kind. And that's what the
Yeah.
Liberty did, at least this past weekend in the games I've gone to. And obviously, it doesn't hurt, Danny, when Caitlin Clark is in the building.
100%. 100%. And this is the time to capitalize on it. And I know a lot of people are waiting to see the failures, and they're showing her getting shot blocked, steals picked off. Obviously, we don't want to see her hurt or injured. She did show the injuries, but they're showing a lot of the bad stuff, the turnovers. Um, I think it's best for them to capitalize on showing the good highlights. She had 22 points the other night, and said I follow a lot of sports pages. I follow a lot of media outlets, and I don't see enough of her highlights. And maybe because it's not the same as Iowa State, but still, people want to watch her play. Want to see, even if she's losing, you got to show some of those highlights and keep that train going because that's where the excitement is. And also with Angel Reese, she's not getting enough coverage. She's not getting far near as much as she did in I mean, naturally so in college, but she should be getting the same type of attention. Cameron
Mhm.
Brinks, she's doing some things like these young rookies are bringing a good energy to the W, and you should need to highlight their highlights more. They need to highlight their plays and their good positives more.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, Danny, because when a star comes to the NBA, like Anthony Edwards, I think obviously Adam Silver would love if he ended up in a Chicago, if he ended up in a New York, if he ended up in
Hmm.
LA. But when you're a star in the league and the NBA is built up so much, it doesn't matter. If you're a star, you're a star. Kevin Durant was in Oklahoma City for how long? Russell Westbrook was in
Hmm.
Oklahoma City for how long? When you're a star, you're a star. And I wonder, and I hope nobody takes offense to this. If I was Kathy Engelberg, the WNBA commissioner, hey, listen, I understand Indiana Fever had the worst record. I understand. I totally understand. So they got the first pick of the draft. But hey, listen, man. If I could have moved those ping pong balls to make sure Caitlin Clark was with the
In a
LA
bigger
Sparks,
city.
Yeah, or to be with the LA Sparks, even just to have her in a major market. I mean, there's always those rumors that like Patrick Ewing, the Knicks somehow got the first round pick to get Patrick Ewing. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. There's
Cleveland
all these
Cavaliers got
yeah,
Braun. You know what I'm saying? Like,
somehow
yeah.
the Cavaliers get LeBron. Like, it's like a
Atlanta getting the first
conspiracy.
pick this year. You know what I'm saying? Spurs getting the first pick. Like, there's a lot of teams getting first picks. You're like, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah, for
Just so
sure.
happens the luck of the draw, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yes, if Caitlin Clark was in a market like LA, I think it would even help the league. But even in general, I've watched portions of her first 4 games now. I did see her full game against Liberty when she was at Barclays Center. I would say this, Danny, and this is something that it's interesting. We saw this past year with the Phoenix Suns. As great as Caitlin Clark is as a scorer with her shooting ability, just like how Devin Booker is a great scorer, I think asking her to also be the primary playmaker when she's that lethal of a scorer is a tough thing to ask. Like even Steph Curry. Steph Curry's a playmaker, but you're really curtailing what he could do if you make him the primary point guard.
Especially as a rookie, like she probably should have some help. I think her playing alongside like Erica Wheeler would have been good. Like that made sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like have somebody else set the table, her come off pin downs and not have to bring the ball up. It's too much attention, too much of a target on her back to do all those things. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you. I think it'll make it easier for her transitioning wise an adjustment year. Also, while making it, her be able to just play to her strengths.
Yeah, for sure. If she could get off the ball a little bit more, things might go better for the Indiana Fever. And speaking of which, somebody who probably needs to get off the ball a little bit more, Jalen Brunson. The Knicks season has come to an end, y'all. And man, it was rough watching it towards the end because as the injury bug continues to hit the New York Knicks and more pressure went to Jalen Brunson, I was saying to myself, Danny, man, he's bringing up the ball and having to score. Can somebody else at least bring it up so he can come and get the ball? Like
Dante hooped. He played well, and he'll bring the ball.
Dante hooped, dog. Yeah. Dante hooped, dog. The whole squad hooped, especially given the circumstance. I'm just talking about the actual structure in which the Knicks offense was operating, particularly as the injuries continued to mount. And we won't spend a long time talking about what went wrong in Game 7. God damn, the Pacers shot the lever off the ball, but bro,
historic numbers. 67% for the game, 80% for the first half. I don't care who was not healthy and who was not injured on that floor. You were losing that game.
Yeah.
The way they shot the ball, OG, Julius, all of them could have been healthy. 80% and 60%. Obviously, they would help defensively, so they took down the numbers. But if a team is shooting that, it doesn't matter who's on the floor. That's a game that it's going to be really hard to win.
The big key there was even when the Knicks were scoring, them boys was running. So the Knicks couldn't get any. It was so difficult for them to get stops and then for the Knicks to run. And the OG injury, Josh Hart, the strained ab. I don't want to get into it, man. I don't want to.
Kudos to OG and Josh playing through injuries. OG was out there running crazy with that hamstring. He came in, knocked down 2 baskets, was huge. But it was good to see him try to fight it, but he shouldn't have been out there. Josh fighting through, the oblique or the strain or whatever. Those guys hoop, man. Obviously, Brunson broke his hand. There's a lot of. They all bumped up, banged up. So for them to fight through it and continue to play, I thought they still gave themselves a chance to win that series. So you got to give them a lot of flowers. Even though they said it wasn't a successful season, I thought they would still make it to the next round. I thought they'd be the best matchup for Boston if healthy, but they weren't. But yeah, man, a lot of credit to those guys. They show a lot of character. But yeah, now comes the offseason. So do we talk about what's the next moves for them or what?
That's what we should talk about. I mean, I want one more point too. What's the thing as a Knicks fan that hurts, Danny, is that when you look at the grand scheme of it all, the Knicks were only 1 game better than they were last year. They lost in the second round last year to the Miami Heat in 6 games. They lose this year in the second round to the Indiana. Regardless of how much better the vibes felt, regardless of all the things that happened, regardless of having home court, the Knicks were only 1 game better. And that kind of that sucks. But either way, the optimism is big. It should be high
for sure.
The New York Knicks fans going
100%. Forward. So my question to you is, what do you guys do this summer? Do you extend Julius Randle? Do you bring him back? What pieces do you keep? Try to bring in? What changes do you make? Do you try to bring in Devin Booker if you can get him? Because
Yeah.
you did say Jalen Brunson is on the ball a little too much. And I
Yeah.
agree. I think, but he's very good, but you needed him to be. You don't have another second ball handler. No Julius there. Take the person, another star, but you have Dante who's good, but he's not another star like that can get you a one-on-one bucket or a guy you just go to and like, hey, get his. He's going to play off the pick and roll some DHO mostly pin downs spacer, but he's not like a get the ball, create, make something happen type of guy. So do you get a Devin Booker? Do you keep Julius Randle? What are your offseason moves for your New York Knickerbockers?
Well, I'll detail the situation here for people. Okay, so Isaiah Hartenstein is a pending free agent. The issue with him, the Knicks could only offer him a certain percentage increase. They could only go up to a certain percentage of the cap. So I think they're capped out at paying him $18 million a year.
So
more than likely, more than likely there's gonna be one team out there that's going to be willing to go north of $20 million. What happens there? I don't know. Julius Randle eligible for an extension. Jalen Brunson also eligible for an extension. OG Anunoby player option. I think everybody assumes he's coming back because the Knicks traded a certain amount of capital quickly, and RJ Barrett with draft.
But he could opt out and then sign. Basically, he'll opt out and sign new.
I feel like he
or
opts
opt in and sign an extension. Either one of them.
I feel like he opts out and then he signs. Then you also have the situation with Bogdan Bogdanovic. He has $18 million expiring contract, a very valuable deal. And then Alec Burks has he's off the books. I don't think the Knicks would necessarily bring him back unless it's probably for a veteran minimum. So that's
Mitchell Robinson. Did we go to Mitchell Robinson? Did we talk about Mitchell Robinson?
He's already on the books. They could potentially. So here's the thing. Here's what I think the Knicks can do. I think the Knicks could do a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Here's what I want to happen. If they are going to trade Julius Randle, you have to actually get a power forward. I don't want to replace Julius Randle with Devin Booker. I don't want to replace Julius Randle with Brandon Ingram, who's extension eligible. I don't want to replace Julius Randle with Donovan Mitchell, who's extension eligible, because I think between Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, the way he's shooting the leather off the ball, and OG Anunoby, I'm good with that 1 through 3. I'm good with that 1 through 3.
You don't like OG as the 4?
I like OG at the 3. I like OG at the 3, and I want a normal sized 4 that could stretch the floor. OG can definitely play the 4, 100%. But I like the size. Now, there's a lot of people out there, and here's what I say: I will move OG to the 4 for only one player. I would move OG to the 4, well, actually for two players. Paul George. Or, and this is a very popular name, I think it's going to become more popular, Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges can play the 3. You get OG to slide to the 4. Now you got guys who can catch and shoot, play defense. The only problem, Danny, and this is the biggest issue with the Knicks, and this is why the next player that they get potentially in a Julius Randle trade, which is why I'm not necessarily going gung-ho to trade Julius Randle. That other player has to be able to also be a facilitator too, or a ball handler. Like this other person, as much as I might like Mikal Bridges, he's a guy who's going to catch and shoot. We have to take, as good as Brunson was, he cannot be the sole force of the 100%.
But if you get one of those guys, you have to let go. You have to let go of some of those other guys, DiVincenzo and Josh Hart. You have to let some of those guys go.
You could trade. You could look Bogdanovic, and here's the thing: the Knicks have a wealth of.
Is he still on? Is Bogdan still on the book for 18 next year?
He has an $18 million expiring deal. You could trade Bogdanovic, with Mitchell Robinson if you wanted to, and
or sign a trade with Hartenstein.
Or sign and trade with Hartenstein and use your draft picks, and you could easily fix that hole. There's a lot of options. The Knicks 100%. Have so many options that I just don't want them to do the wrong one. That's the important thing here.
I don't think it's wrong as long as you can keep your foundation. There's so many moves. As long as you can keep Jalen, OG, and one of the bigs, Hartenstein or Mitchell, you got to keep one of them.
That's a tough thing. I don't know which one's the right one because I feel like Mitchell Robinson is a guy to guard Giannis and to guard Embiid. But Hartenstein,
it depends on yes. They're both. I think you can't go wrong with either one of them. I would go with Hartenstein. But I think he's going to be more expensive. But in order to get a guy like a Paul George, now I would move OGs to 4 for a multitude of guys. Paul George, Devin Booker being another one. It also takes the ball out of Jalen's hands as much. Yeah, use Bojan as a trade piece. Dante and Josh, you can't keep all of those guys. Somebody else is going to have to come off, bro. Honestly,
They're probably
you
going to
said
try and get.
Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges, they're not letting him go.
Yeah, if you're
and
Brooklyn, why
Brooklyn?
would you hold on to Mikal Bridges? For
He's your
what?
main piece. They're holding on to him for everything because they want to build around him.
He's not.
They're going to ask for. They're going to ask for the laundry, the sink, the house for. Like they're not giving him up unless you give up a lot of pieces for him.
The Knicks could give up 3 first-round draft picks, Bogdanovich, and
Bojan
Mitchell,
and who?
And
you think
Bojan
that's enough for
and Mitchell Robinson with 3 first-round draft picks for Mikal Bridges? Yeah.
I think you forget how much they asked for him, bro. Honestly, I think there's another route you can go that's probably cheaper. Go to Miles Bridges. Get him as a nice little 4-piece that can back up OG. Have him and OG at the 4. Then you can pick up Book and PG at the same time. He is an underrated guy that was a max player just 2-3 years ago. That we realized that you could get.
Yeah.
This is a guy that could have been a player, and he still puts up numbers. He's not a great shooter from deep, but he is aggressive. He can play defense. He can shoot. He guarded the best defender. He's athletic. He gives you that up and down pace. He's a better Obi Toppin for you.
Yeah. And yeah,
if you're letting Julius go, then that's the guy you need to go get. He's a more agile Julius, more athletic Julius.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, well, that's picking him up comes with another set of potential PR issues, but that's another story.
Maybe so. Everybody goes to the PR issues. Everybody's done it. They're going to accept it. He's either going to get re-signed by Charlotte for more money, or you can go out and get him in for cheap. Say, hey, we got bring it to New York. Yeah. Play if you want to win. It's kind of like getting Kelly Oubre for cheap. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, he is obviously some PR. But time has gone by now. He's done. He had his case. It all. His woman has told that she did. She recanted. None of this happened. She, you know what I'm saying? This, that, and other. She didn't press charges, file charges, and brought him in the wrong light. But they'll figure it out. They can figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen. The one thing is for sure, the Knicks have a multitude of options, and this is one of the best summers to have options available to you, because as the CBA begins to reset, a lot of teams are going to try and get their books in order, and there are more than a handful of players who are also extension eligible. A lot of teams are going to have to make decisions, and the teams that have capital, the teams that have draft cap space, are going to be the teams that will benefit from that. Let's go to another team that's going to need to make some changes. Let's talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Danny, it was just like, yeah, I guess you have, if you're the Thunder, you're saying to yourself, oh, it's a great season. Number 1 overall seed, took a very good Mavericks team with 2 Hall of Fame worthy players in Luka and Kyrie. We took them to game 6 down to the end of the wire. But at the same time too, Danny, I'm saying to myself, if I'm the Thunder, that was great. But what could we have done if we would have just used
those picks to get somebody that can rebound?
About 30 draft picks to address the issues that we knew were going to be true. Rebounding, we knew that was going to happen. And Danny, it felt like by halfway through the season, they knew that teams weren't going to guard Josh Giddey at the 3-point line. Josh Giddey went from playing 24 minutes per game in the regular season to almost 12, 11 in the postseason, particularly in this series. He got played off the court. And now, because you didn't prepare yourself, Josh Giddey is not really a trade asset anymore. He's a liability. Yeah. Like, you're going to have to package even more picks with him to get something out. But that's
and they brought in Gordon Hayward. They didn't really use him well either. But they could have got a big rebounder and another 3-and-D wing guy that we all might know of over here. But there's many other options. They have a really good offseason. They have a lot of things they can do into offseason as well. They have a lot of picks. They have a good foundation. They have a good group. They're gonna have to pay some of those guys eventually. But yeah, ultimately they need some veteranship there. They need some experience, and they need some rebounding and probably some more shooting. Isaiah Joe is really good. Wiggins is really good. But you need some more of that, more consistency, and so just somebody that has a little bit more experience there. But they have good pieces, man. I like what they had. They were right there. A foul call away. He got the ball first, then got the arm after. Could have sent it to 7. Who knows? But there a lot of great things for that group this year to come out of and be excited for. And so they still have a lot of potential to grow quickly because they have
Yes.
so many pieces. They have so many
Yeah.
picks.
Yeah. I mean, they could easily make a trade for another big and put Chet Holmgren at the 4 if they would like to. They could keep Chet Holmgren at the 5 and just get get a bigger 4 and move Jalen Williams to the 3. There's multitude of options. They have draft picks. I'm sure Sam Presti is going to be cooking up all summer. And they've played well enough. They've played well enough that the front office should say to themselves, okay, we need to stop fronting on all these draft picks we have. They've shown us that they're good enough that we can start to give away some of this capital that we have. We don't have to worry about our core. We have our big 3. Let's make this big 3 as good as possible. I'm going to throw out one scenario to you, though, Danny. One scenario.
Mm-hmm.
What if Sam Presti said, I know he might not sign here long term, but this guy says that he wants to be a champion, that he wants to be a winner, and he cares about legacy.
Yeah.
We got draft picks to burn anyway. Let's go trade for Donovan Mitchell. Shai Gilgeous at the 1, Donovan at the 2. They could both play. I mean, Donovan could play off the ball because he could catch and shoot. Jay will stay at the 4. Lou Dort at the 3.
What are they missing? What else do you think they're missing?
They'll get another big man. They'll get another. Of course, they need a big man.
Do you think they need a stretch 4? Like a real power forward?
In this NBA, maybe not. Maybe not. But I'm just saying, Danny, because I'm only saying this because they have a wealth of draft capital.
Mm-hmm.
What is the harm in saying, we got 30 draft picks. Let's just give away 5 of them and we'll get Donovan Mitchell.
It changes your whole offense. It changes your whole offense, changes your whole defense. And Don is a great player. I think he is, but it takes way more off of Shai. It takes more off of Jalen. But then defensively, like, you're smaller. You're only even smaller. Now you're less rebounding.
Who was Josh Giddey guarding anyway? Who was Isaiah Joe start guarding anyway?
Do you know where the series changed the most from Dallas for OKC? I saw this random ass stat on Twitter.
Hit me.
Derrick Jones Jr., the first 3 games, averaged 8 points a game or something like that. The last 3, he averaged like 22. Do you know when that changed? When Shai was guarding him. PJ first was guarding him. Shai was guarding PJ first.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went and switched over to guarding Derrick Jones Jr.
Yeah.
So basically, the mismatch where it was. Now, what do you think happens when you got Don out there as well? Not saying that Don can't guard, but if you have 2 guys that aren't great defenders in the half-court set in the playoffs, when you know the game slows down and you have to play them together at some point, it's very similar. Now, obviously, Darius is a lot smaller, but it's the same situation. You have two guys that are scoring guards. They're not smaller guards, but they're 2 guards that are scoring guards that they're not great defensively. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are going to find a mismatch. Somebody going to try to post up. You have to rotate, double. It's a similar situation to me. Now, for me, OKC, you could do that, or you can go get a Tobias Harris, probably for a little cheaper. You can go get another shooter or somebody for a little cheaper. Try to get a Quentin Grimes or something like that. You can get somebody like that.
Tobias might not be a bad fit over there. Maybe not. But you also need bigs. Like I said, I keep throwing the guys that are cheap out there. Like I said, you could find a guy like that. I keep throwing out Miles Bridges because I think he's going to be cheaper than most guys, and he's a very, very good asset to some teams. I don't know if he's good for that locker room, but he could change in that locker room maybe. But like I said, you could find guys like that, like young shooter like Quentin Grimes, maybe a 3-and-D guy like that, or another stretch 4, like you were saying, with Tobias, that could give you a little bit more, and he'll rebound. So but you ultimately, Donovan is such a great player, and I'm a big fan of him. But you take away from your other guys offensively, and maybe that rhythm may change a lot. And defensively, you make yourself smaller. Ultimately, fair enough. Okay, all right. Lastly, before we talk about that conference finals, let's go to the Denver Nuggets. And as Nikola Jokic said it, the Minnesota Timberwolves are pretty much constructed to beat the Denver Nuggets, and that's exactly what they did. Between Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, and Naz Reid, that's a very good front court. Then you throw in Mike Conley and Jaden McDaniels, and obviously Anthony Edwards. This is a very, very, very good team. And obviously, with the way that the money is set up for the Denver Nuggets, and there's really not too much they can do out there this upcoming summer. The biggest change I would make, Danny, if I were the Denver Nuggets, and obviously Nikola Jokic is a great player, I think it's time for Mike Malone, considering the investment they've already made in him and Michael Porter Jr., I think it's on Mike Malone and Michael Porter Jr. this offseason to say, yo, we actually need to build some more offense around you. And I'm not saying Michael Porter Jr. can become a pick and roll playmaker, but I think giving him more utility in that offense will allow it to show different sides of itself. They've put so much of the usage and so much of the workload on the two-man game with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, or just simply working through Nikola Jokic. And if more teams take the Minnesota Timberwolves route of, we about to get 3 bigs, it's going to be hard for Jokic to sustain excellence for 4 straight rounds in the playoffs. I think you're already paying Michael Porter Jr. mucho bucks. You might as well see what else you can get out of him. I feel like they've almost, for as good as he could be, I feel like they need to make him more than he feels like just a catch and shoot shooter.
He is just a catch and shooter, honestly. He should post up more, he slashes some, but he could do more offensively, but also I'm also expanding him to be a little bit more of a playmaker because he does not see anything but the rim. And if he's not making shots, he's really hard to, you know what I'm saying? He defends somewhat. But who are their free agents? Who's restricted? Is an Aaron Gordon free agent? Is a KCP free agent? Who are they going to? You have to re-sign Aaron Gordon. You can't let him go. But you can't keep everybody. Who do you fill the rest of your roster with? You know what I'm saying? You got Christian Brown. Do you bring back DeAndre, Justin Holiday? Like, who else do you bring back? You know what I'm saying? You signed the big man that I don't know plays to like 44
Porter
million.
Jr. is under contract. Aaron Gordon's under contract. KCP has a $15 million player option, which he'll probably see. Now, the interesting thing about KCP is a $15 million player
Aaron Gordon has
option.
how many years? How many more years?
Aaron Gordon has he's making $23 million next year. And then after that, he has a $23 million player option. Jamal Murray's going into
after
the last
next year, not this year.
After next year. Now, the thing is, KCP is making $15 million next year. He could opt out and get a long-term deal, or he could roll the dice, Danny, play one more year on the $15 million deal, play well on it, and say, now with the new CBA, now I can even get a longer-term deal with more annual money. That's the risk he could take.
The risk is he's also getting older. He'll be 32 at that time. He's 30, 31. He'll be 32.
Yeah, he'll be
32, 33.
So he can,
do we want to give a long-term deal to a 32, 33-year-old guy? That's the question, right? So
yeah,
I'm thinking he's probably going to opt out and try to get the long deal now before it's too late. If I'm rich, I understand. But we'll see how they play it out. Ultimately, they have to fill the rest of the roster and their bench up. Who do you go get? You need more consistent shooting to give space for Jamal, right? Because MPJ, if he's off, it's tough, right?
But end of the day, Danny, like just looking
Christian
at the
Brown
money
couldn't space the floor.
But it's not like, okay, you know what you could do? You gotta go for some guys and hope they take this. Like maybe you can get a Tobias Harris for cheap. Maybe you can get Bruce Brown to come back.
He's already under 22 million though. He's not gonna go for cheap. He has one more year for 22 million, right?
Yeah, but I think there's an option. There's an option, so you can opt out and then maybe they give him a longer term deal. End of the day, Danny. To me, it doesn't matter who they fill it with. Yes, it will help if they get better role players, but at the same time, Peyton Watson, the Christian Browns, they can just get better. End of the day, I think you have to say to yourself, should we have more utility out of this offense than just Nikola Jokic?
Yeah, you need MPJ, you need Aaron Gordon, you need both of them. And if you bring back KCP, if you don't bring back KCP, you got to find another filler, another 3-and-D guy. But ultimately, like you said, putting that money into those other guys, they need to be able to give you more.
Yeah.
More versatility, more looks. It's other than just slashing, dunking, and shooting the 3. Like they'll be able to give them a break offensively, be able to create something.
Exactly. You're making that you have that much of an investment and you can't just be one-dimensional. And yes, as well as Michael Porter Jr. fits with Nikola Jokic, as we all saw, when it doesn't go well, there's nothing else. When he's not shooting well, there's nothing else to this game. And you can't just be investing that much money in a one-dimensional guy. It just doesn't work. When we come back, now that we've sorted out the off seasons for the losers, let's talk about the winners. Eastern Conference, Western Conference Finals preview right here on Inside the Green Room. Be right back. What's good, everybody? You already know the vibes. Harrison Sanford getting green inside the green room. If you're listening to us on any of your podcast apps, particularly the Audacy app, follow us on YouTube, subscribe, rate, review, likes, all that good stuff. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can find us on your podcast apps, particularly the Audacy app. Now, let's get over to the winners. We'll start with the Eastern Conference Finals, which starts on Tuesday. The Indiana Pacers taking on the Boston Celtics. And Danny, again, I'm a Knicks fan, so it hurts to see the Pacers there. And I don't like what Tyrese Halliburton did, pulling out the Reggie Miller hoodie after the game. If he felt so big about it, if he felt so bold,
should have did it beforehand.
Yes, then 10 toes down, bro.
So,
I don't like that.
Question for you: would you consider him a front runner?
Yeah, that's front runner activity. Throughout the whole listen, he's a talented player, but throughout the whole series, there was a lot of front running activity coming from him. It is what it is, though. But he's a front runner. He's a front runner. He don't talk. He doesn't. It's not that I like people that trash talk. I love trash talk, but he really only talks when he's
playing well.
And when he's playing well, he's talking. He's talking major trash. He's talking big. He's talking big game. But when they're down, and it's not even like when they're down, he's like shooting and missing. Yo, he's not even shooting. He's not even shooting the ball when they're losing. So I don't like how he got down. Again, I'm a little bit.
I love Tyrese. I love his game, but yeah, I think there's some it's like, yo, we got to bring the same energy consistently, kid. Even when y'all are losing and not down, do it the same. But hey, he won. Reggie was talking his trash. Josh talked his trash to Reggie. Went back and forth a little bit. Yeah. But ultimately, they came out one. And what I love about this, I talked about this earlier. What I love and miss about the game so much, and which makes it so exciting for our league, is how unpredictable it has been this year and how it can be. I took the home teams. Both home teams lost.
Yeah, right.
And, the script was not. That script is out in the trash can, burnt on fire. The script is gone. It's not scripted the way it normally is. The teams that are supposed to win are not winning. Teams are not staying healthy. You don't know what's happening. So it's been very unpredictable. It's been exciting. Nonetheless, one of your words, there were some good basketball teams still playing. I did not think Indiana would be where they are today, where they're standing, because they were a good team. I don't know if they were a great team. Usually really good teams have to make it to the conference finals. But they are here. They played really well. They shot 80% in the first half, 67% for the game. Historic numbers. Pascal set the tone from the jump, going 6 for 6. Him and Tyrese, they quieted the crowd, and after that, everybody followed suit. Neesmith joined the party. Nembhard joined the party. TJ McConnell joined the party. Still starting five. I think everybody damn near had 20 in the starting five.
Turner,
everybody.
Top and McConnell. Them boys wasn't
67%. Yeah, so it's hard to watch, but they played a good enough game.
We got the point, Danny. Let's
see what they got. But now we'll see what Tyrese has to do in this Boston game. We want to see if you're gonna trash talk, wear the hoodies. They got another new challenge. This ain't the injured Knicks. This is the Boston Celtics, who is somewhat injured, but we'll see what Kristaps does, or how he comes back, if he comes back and when. And even if he doesn't come back, this is not a team that is the New York Knicks.
I will say this: as much as I wanted the Knicks to win, as a basketball fan, I am there is a happiness that I have that the Pacers did win, because if the Knicks somehow pulled off Game 7, it was going to be an ugly Eastern Conference final with the wave of injuries that they had. It would have been bad basketball. So
it would look crazy out there. It
would have looked bad.
It would have been an ugly series. It would have been an ugly series. It might have been a nasty sweep. Indiana's a little more healthy. I think this is a good fun. Boston always finds a game to drop 1 or 2 just because they're just not there, and they live and die by the 3. So now I'll get 1 just off that basis. Now, can they get 2 or 3? We'll see. What do you think? What are your predictions, and what do you think they have to do to stay in this game or in the series?
It is. People might be shocked by this. I'm going to say Boston in 7. Boston in 7, because the Boston Celtics are, and we've seen it, they are going to rely on the 3-point shot. And if there's one team that doesn't mind shooting with them, it's the Indiana Pacers. And part of the reason why the Indiana Pacers don't mind shooting with the Boston Celtics is because of this, Danny. Despite the fast pace that the Pacers play at, the up and down pace, the amount of possessions that they create for both sides, them and their opponent. Despite that fact, Danny, the Indiana Pacers were number 1 in opponent 3-point makes per game. They only allowed 11 makes per game from the 3-point line. Number 1 in the NBA, which is a shocking stat when you really think about how many opportunities or how many possessions they allow to happen in their games. But it shows that maybe, I guess, their ability between Miles Turner
contesting, they can contest threes better.
They can contest threes better. I guess that's just the case. So, it's going to be interesting to see. I think with Miles Turner stretching out from 3, I think Pascal Siakam could be a good defensive option for either Jason Tatum or for Jaylen Brown, depending on where they want to put Nesmith. I think it's going to be a very interesting series here. And Danny, we cannot omit the fact that you got Joe Mazzulla versus Rick Carlisle. And I think
you give that to Rick for sure. He's got more experience.
Yeah, and Rick did some very smart things in that Knicks series as well. So, yeah, I'm going to say Boston is 7. I think the only thing I don't like about this series, Danny, I think we're going to get a lot of blowouts. I think we're going to get I think we might get
back and forth blowouts.
I think we might get like 3 or 4 20-point losses, one way or another. And that's unfortunate because of all the threes we're going to see.
Yes, 100%. I'm with you. That's going to be an interesting series. I'm saying Boston in 6. And that's me being nice. If they're doing what they're supposed to do, it should be Boston in 5. But they're going to find a way to drop one. Indiana play.
I ain't going to do what they're supposed to do.
What I've learned from these playoffs is the numbers. We can throw all those in the trash. It does not matter. Minnesota being not a fourth quarter team, not being there, like all that does not matter anymore. Certain teams, OKC not being this, being that, they still beat the hell out of the team they played in the first round. And the second round, they gave Dallas a really good run. So, shocker, like all the numbers that we studied and searched and said, oh, they need this, need that. Those teams, it doesn't matter. And as much as they don't have the same team Indiana had from before All-Star break with Buddy Hield, they have McDermott there. They don't use him. So the fact that they're playing up pace, they're going to get outshot from 3 by most teams because they don't have the same shooting as they had when they had Mather in the same pace with Mather and Buddy Hield. The guys that are injured are not there anymore. But they do have Nembhard. They do have Tyrese Halliburton. But and Pascal, who's not really a 3-point shooter. But yes, defensive assignments. They have some good pieces that they can put on Jaylen and Jason. They do have a big with Miles Turner, but they're just too inconsistent to me. And I think they get for sure 1 win just because Boston loses, but I also think they get 1 win because they win a game. Outside of that, I don't see them getting more than 2. And I think this is over in 5 or 6 games. Boston lets it get to 7. Should be shameful yourself. Like Indiana's not 100% healthy either. They have a lot of guys that are not there, injured, not playing, and that wasn't to start the season. They're no longer there. They're not the same team as they were. They do have Rick. They have Tyrese. But ultimately, we can keep it a buck here. Indiana is not the team that anybody thought they should. They shouldn't. They're here surprisingly, and they probably should. Healthier teams in the East probably shouldn't be here. Like you got Philly, New York, Milwaukee, all these teams that are only ones that we saw match up with. They should not be in this conversation, realistically. And if Boston lets them be in the conversation, you should. Because what seed are they this year? They were what 7?
7 seed.
They're 7 or 6
seed. 6 seed. Yeah. Hey, listen, man. I understand their overall resume. Their resume says that they shouldn't be, but I think the play style will really actually be to their benefit. They're deeper than Boston. They have a point guard who can control the pace. They have options to guard Tatum and Brown, and there's no Porzingis. So maybe I think
with Drew and Derek White, Tyrese Halliburton is going to have a really struggle. And with him not dictating the way he dictated in New York and other series, that's going to put a damper on your parade.
That's true. Yeah,
that's true. We got 2 defensive guards, and then they got Jalen can throw on them. Like, you control that. Then you got Pascal. You guys can guard Pascal, too, with Jason and Jalen. And you got at the rim, Horford. Like, Miles going to have to show up. He's going to have to be Karl Anthony Towns of the series. The reason why Minnesota beat Denver, Karl Anthony Towns showed up. Point blank, period. Defensively and offensively. Now, Miles Turner does that, they can get 3 games. If not, they're going home in 5 or 6.
I'm off Miles Turner. I don't like the way he was acting versus the Knicks. Anyways,
that's why I said 5 or 6 games. 5 or 6 games.
Let's move over to the Western Conference now. And Danny, you are totally right. Karl Anthony Towns did his thing. He deserves props. It's so crazy because when you look, when the season started, Karl Anthony Towns was a very popular person to get traded because of all of the wealth of money that they have in that front court in Minnesota. I don't know what happens with the ownership group, but whoever takes over, whoever's going to retain control of the team, y'all can't trade nobody off this squad. Like y'all gonna have to pay. Y'all gonna have to pay them taxes. Because you will be a villain, public enemy number one, if you break up what the Minnesota Timberwolves got going on right now. They got an MVP caliber player in Anthony Edwards, a certified all-star Karl Anthony Towns, 2 players, if not 3 players, that could be on all defensive teams between Jaden McDaniels, Rudy Gobert, and Anthony Edwards. And they got the 6th man of the year, Nas Reed, and quality players off the bench like Kyle Anderson,
Mike Conley, great
Walker,
deal.
Alexander, and I haven't even said Mike
Kyle
Conley
Anderson,
yet.
Mike Conley,
it's
NWA, but you're gonna have to lose some of those guys. You have to bring up other guys for cheap because you can't. You have to pay some of those guys. Kel Alexander-Walker can't keep for cheap anymore. Nas Reed, you got at a really good deal. Mike Conley, you got a good deal, but like I said, the other roster spots you're gonna have to fill in with some other people that are cheaper. That can fit, which shouldn't be too hard. Just pay the tax, keep the foundation, fill in the cheap spots because everything else will take care of itself. You got everything you need with those guys.
Got everything you need, and it can only get better with the. I think what's really good for this team is that you actually have a star that can play on both sides of the ball, that actually takes pride on playing on both sides of the ball, and doesn't just take pride by his words. I mean, doesn't take pride by necessarily by just his actions, but he also talks about it. And I think that accountability that he has privately and publicly is definitely something that makes the whole team in itself hold itself accountable. He talked about how much Chris Finch is on him to be a better player on both sides of the ball. And he says when he's messing around, Finch calls him out and he takes it. If Anthony Edwards takes it, Danny, as you know, when you were playing with Tim Duncan, if Anthony Edwards takes the criticism well, then everybody else has to follow suit. So I think they are set up for a beautiful present and obviously a beautiful future too. But let's just focus in on the immediate future with them taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Danny, I got the Timberwolves in 5, dog.
Wow.
I got them at 5. I think, yes, Kyrie Irving is great.
Got to put a little more respect on Kai and Luka, man. I got at least 6. They're going to win at least 2 games, I think.
I think
PJ Washington playing well, Derek Jones Jr. playing well. Like those other guys are playing. Tim Hardaway's back now. Those pieces can get you 2 games. With Kai and Luka just being special. Kai and Luka are going to have a game or 2 each of them where it's special. So they got to get at least 2.
They could have games where they're special. But I think, Danny, the big thing is when you have McDaniels and Ant, yes, you're not stopping Luka, you're not stopping Kyrie, but they're gonna curtail them. I think
don't let Luka get Jaden in foul trouble. Don't let Kai get once Jaden's off that floor, that changes a lot.
I think the big thing here, Danny, is you're not gonna be worried about Karl Anthony Towns foul trouble anymore. You're not gonna be worried about Rudy Gobert.
Cat will still find ways to get in foul trouble with Luka and Kai. They're gonna pump fake, jump into one of them. Gafford. I mean, Gafford and Lively are very much putting a lot of pressure on that rim. They will try to block a lot of things that they will get in foul trouble for. So they will find ways. Foul trouble guys find ways to get in foul trouble. So it still might happen. Yes, there's less there's no Jokic there, so it's less pressure, but still, it could happen. And if you get Luka getting one of those Jaden McDaniels in foul trouble or Ant in foul trouble, you're in trouble.
Different game. Yeah, I think this series will be. I think we'll see a lot of competitive games because I think we'll see Luka try and control the pace, and obviously the Minnesota Timberwolves are a defensive team, so it's going to be a lot more low scoring in my opinion. But I think the interior size of the Timberwolves will be the thing that really changes the game. The rebounding ability they have. I think you could see some double-double from Gobert. Yeah, I see them protecting the rim, grabbing boards, and I think the overall size on the inside is what's going to make the Timberwolves win. And it could be, it could be very well 5 very close games, but I think that size differential is going to be something that the Mavericks are not going to be able to overcome, particularly when it's not necessarily going to come easy on the perimeter as well with McDaniels and Ant guarding Luka and Kyrie.
I agree, but I still think Dallas gets 2 games. So I'm going to go with Minnesota in 6. Kai and Luka just too special not to get 2 games. And with the way PJ Washington playing, Gafford, Lively, Derek Jones Jr., those guys have been playing. Tim Hardaway back now. They've been playing pretty well. If those others can give you a night, I know Minnesota's also Cat's known to give you a night where he just disappears and is not there.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert said gives you a night where he's not doing, and if they play 5 out, it's going to give him trouble. You have to play. Nas Reed gives you that ability, but Luka putting guys in foul trouble like a Jay McDaniels could be in foul trouble. Kyrie special enough second half takeover. Said they just have a little more experience, more maturity to where they're going to get you at least a win or 2 wins with their experience and with their talent alone. Because and they've been fighting. They also a team that come back down double digits at home on the road and win games. They show the mental fortitude and character that they keep fighting, and they will win games in the stretch of fourth quarter. And we do know, even though I threw out the numbers in the trash can, we do know Minnesota's crunch time numbers of where they sat in the fourth quarters.
If it comes down to that. Now, I think, yeah, for sure. I think it'll be one way or another, but I think that those series and each of those games are going to be super competitive. I'm looking forward to this. We're about to get out of here, y'all. But before we do that, I just want to remind Danny and all of our listeners that there's a certain co-host that predicted that we would see a Timberwolves Boston Celtics finals. And we are getting so close to that. And I said Anthony Edwards finals MVP, and I'm standing 10 toes down on it, y'all. It's coming. Just wait for it.
I said Boston, huh? Is that what I said? I think I said Boston.
I think you said Boston. You said Boston, Denver.
I said if Denver ends up winning that series, which I don't think they. I think I went with the Boston Celtics, if I'm not mistaken. We have to look at the clip again, but I remember looking at the clip.
You definitely took Boston to win.
I said Boston, and I knew Denver would come back and say I don't know if they would win it. I knew they would not. People were like, oh, they're gonna get swept. They're losing 5. I said no, they're gonna win at least 2 games. Yeah. I don't know if they make out a series. It's a hell of a hole to climb out of. They did make it out, which I'm still shocked because they lost 3 games on their home floor in that series.
That's nuts.
Unbelievable. Up 15 at half. You had 53 points at half, and you ended up with 90. 69 of those points from Jamal and Jokic, and nobody else that could score in double digits. So yeah, ultimately they folded. They smoked that game. But yes, if Denver didn't come out of the West, I thought Boston had it. But now I want to rechange it. I thought whoever came out of the West at that series would win the title, but I think Boston has an edge maturity-wise, years-wise, over the other teams because they have been there before. The other teams have not yet.
I will say this, and I thought the same way before the playoffs started, and it becomes even louder now. Now that the Denver Nuggets are gone, the Boston Celtics need to win the NBA Finals.
Yeah, all the pressure's on them. If they don't, it's going to be a shit show. No excuses. Unless some other injuries happen. Unless some other injuries happen where Kristaps doesn't come back and somebody else gets hurt, you have to win. There's no excuse.
You have to win. The only team that was an acceptable team to lose to, and even if they lost to the Denver Nuggets, people would have been like, yo, you should have won.
Yeah.
But now that the Denver Nuggets are up out of there, even if people think that Minnesota's a better team, it's the lack of your experience versus Minnesota's experience, the easy road that you had to get there with home court advantage. There is no excuse.
A lot of rest time in between. They had time to rest each individual. Guys can come back healthy, get rest, feel comfortable, winning 5.
Don't let this young whippersnapper Anthony Edwards come up in your house and take the NBA Finals. It's going to be a long summer.
And they got home court advantage. Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a summer.
Ooh-wee.
Can't wait to see it, bro. We might see y'all soon. Sooner than later. We might be on here live, so we'll see. But
yes, indeed.
And another said, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, whatever. Anyways, end of the day, read, rate, subscribe, review. We'll see y'all soon. Peace.